Hey, mention that rolling Cinco de Mayo.
All right, 101.1. Are we rolling?
Now we are, but Lance said something about
101.1. So, yeah, we were talking about how the fuck did Joe Rogan become famous, and then it's because he hosted Fear Factor for a long time. And Lance is remembering back to a time when a beautiful young woman willingly ate spiders the size of a dinner plate.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys want some real entertainment, instead of watching our show, type in "woman eats gigantic spider," and it comes up. And I haven't been quite the same since. Oh. And by the way, that very same girl, if you were her boyfriend and you asked her to give you head, she would probably say, "No, I'm not in the mood."
Well, one thing is a huge opportunity to be on TV and win money, and the other thing is giving your boyfriend's stinky junk,
All right, attention. So I think our public, our millions of listeners would like us to talk about
we were going to start
with
what you call Spygate.
Yeah. So what is your opinion of Spygate?
Well, for one thing, I mean, the Republicans are better at branding than the Democrats are. And you guys are now calling the investigation into Trump's campaign and the people around the campaign Spygate, as if it was completely unfounded and illegitimate. And I mean, there are various dimensions to it, like that you have a couple foundational principles. One is that it's all based on this dossier, which it wasn't.
What was it based on? And
hold on. And two, the second foundational principle. Wait. What's the other principle? No, okay. I forgot what the second principle is. But anyway, the second principle is that the Democrats paid for this dossier and the Republicans never paid for any of it, even though it started as Republican Oppo research that kind of got transferred over to the Democrats once Trump became the Republicans' candidate. So my opinion is that it didn't start with the dossier. It started, I believe, with Papadopoulos and Carter Page, just the various people who were in and around the Trump campaign, and that all these people with connections to Russia were also connected to Trump's campaign, and that the FBI had sufficient reason to be concerned that Russia was influencing the people in the campaign.
Are you getting this? Because he's talking very lowly. He's lying very quietly. So I just want to make sure you're getting all this. All right. So here's the problem with your little story, Rick.
All right, go ahead.
The problem is that the dossier was paid for by the Democrats. And even if it wasn't paid for by the Democrats, it was, why, I'm just curious, why would it matter who paid for it? I mean, in other words...
it matters because you were always saying it was paid for by the Democrats.
Yeah,
you said we could put together like a clip package of you saying that like
well, okay,
15 times.
Yeah, well, that it was. The Democrat Party paid $12 million to Fusion GPS to come up with that dossier. And
well, how much did the Republicans pay Fusion GPS before the Democrats paid Fusion GPS?
What amazes me is that no matter how many times I say it, no matter how many times I try to get you to look this up or reason it out, you've got this fact in your mind that the Republicans paid for the dossier. And That's not true. That's what your media told you. I'll explain to you again. The Republican opposition to Trump in the primaries, they actually had hired Fusion GPS to do opposition research on Trump. But then they lost. And when Trump got the primary, won the nomination, Fusion GPS wrote a dossier for the Democrats. And that dossier became the justification for the FBI investigation. Now, I know that 6 months from now, you're going to say the exact same thing. So should we look it up?
I guess so, yeah, because I got to take this off anyway, because it's
All
not in
right.
the pen.
Okay.
All right, here we go, we're breaking. Up, the director's like, what the fuck, you're breaking after only 5 minutes. But yeah, we'll come back, it'll be good. Sorry, here we go. 101.2, 101.2, Lance found me this on Wikipedia. The Trump-Russia dossier, also known as the Steele dossier, is a private intelligence report written from June to December 2016 containing allegations of misconduct and conspiracy between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and the government of Russia during the 2016 election. Dossier comprises 17 memos and was authored by Christopher Steele, a former head of the Russia desk for British intelligence for the private investigative firm Fusion GPS. The report alleged that the Trump campaign and Russian operatives conspired to interfere in the election to benefit Trump. Also alleged that Russia sought to damage Hillary Clinton's candidacy, including sharing negative information about Clinton with the Trump campaign. Dossier was published in full by BuzzFeed. Several mainstream media outlets criticized BuzzFeed's decision to release it without verifying its allegations, while others defended its release. In October 2015, Fusion GPS was contracted by conservative political website, the Washington Free Beacon, to provide general oppo research on Trump and other Republican candidates. In April 2016, attorneys for Clinton and the DNC separately hired Fusion GPS to investigate Trump, while the Free Beacon stopped its backing. In June 2016, Fusion GPS subcontracted Steele's firm to compile the dossier. Clinton campaign.
Stop.
Okay.
So that proves what I just said. In May.
Yeah,
in
but
May, wait. In May, the Republicans stopped paying. In June, the Democrats started paying and subcontracted Steele to write the dossier.
okay.
So the Republicans did not pay for the dossier.
No, but they did hire the same company earlier to do oppo research.
Right, but that's because that company does oppo research for everyone. It's just an oppo research company. The Steele dossier was paid for by the Democrats, by Hillary
Okay, fine. But
and that's important.
Lance, do you mind getting closer to the mic?
all right. Hold on. Let me.
I was a little
get to.
far from the microphone, so I'm just going to repeat this. In May, the Republicans stopped paying Fusion GPS for general opposition research, but in June, the Democrats started by being funded. The Hillary Clinton campaign hired Fusion GPS, who then subcontracted to Steele, who then wrote the dossier. So the Democrats, through Clinton's lawyers, paid for the dossier. Okay, do we need to go?
Yeah, no, let me finish up here. Following Trump's election, funding from Clinton and the DNC ceased, but Steele continued his research and was reportedly paid directly by Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson. The completed dossier was then handed to British and American intelligence services. The media, the intelligence community, and most experts have treated the dossier with caution due to its unverified assertions, while Trump has denounced it as fake news. Russian intelligence agencies have sought to create doubt about its veracity. The U.S. intelligence community took the allegations seriously. The FBI investigated every line of the dossier and spoke with two of Steele's sources. The Mueller report, a summary of the findings of the special, contained passing reference to some of the dossier's allegations, but little mention of its more sensational claims. Overall, some allegations of the dossier have been corroborated, others remain unverified, and one was rejected by the Mueller report. Contrary to repeated assertions by President Trump and many of his supporters, the dossier was not the impetus for the opening of an FBI counterintelligence investigation into possible Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign.
Okay, Rick. That was not what we had to discuss.
Okay, but
The impetus was what? Do you know?
I know some of the stuff.
What was it?
Well, Carter Page's involvement with the Russians. I think Papadopoulos talked to investigate.
Okay. Why don't you go up and model and I'll tell you what the impetus was.
Okay, did you find another article?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. The reason that it's important, let me just sum this up. The reason it's important to say that Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier is because the dossier was used to get a warrant to spy on Trump. And that means that the FBI lied.
But wait, what I just read says it was not the impetus for the FBI investigation.
No, just listen to me. What you read was that it was not verified. Those were the words that came out of your mouth, right?
But some of it has been corroborated.
But
has...
that the FBI was questionable about it because it wasn't verified, right?
Yeah, as with a lot of...
Okay, and so they went to the FISA court, to the intelligence court, and they got a warrant to investigate Trump with a dossier that was not verified. And it was paid for by Clinton. And this happened during the Obama administration. So the FBI under Obama was spying on Trump. And they used the dossier to verify, to
basically,
justify.
I read a bunch of stuff that
Said
that weighs against what you just
No,
said.
no, you didn't. No, you didn't. We can go over it again, but there's more. You think that the impetus for investigating Trump came from Papadopoulos, right?
He's one of the people.
Okay.
As far as I'm not super informed, or when I get.
Well, then I'm gonna help you out then.
Yeah, but you're going to help me out with conservative spin on all this shit.
Well, look, unfortunately, Rick, all I can do is tell you what I know to be true, and if you hate it, that's not my problem. Put that arm down, please.
With the front?
Yeah, I'm just going to draw your head for a while, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So here's what happened. There was a fellow named Joseph Mifsud, okay? He actually, we now know that Joseph Mifsud, before the dossier was written, was a spy working for the American intelligence. All right? Mm-hmm. Now, well, whether you know it or not, he was. Okay?
Well, you're going to say spy as many times as you can.
No. Joseph Mifsud is a Maltese citizen living in Italy that worked at the CIA training facilities in Italy. And he had a meeting, and what he did was he told Papadopoulos that he had a meeting with Papadopoulos that he brought. You can put the other arm down. out of the blue, Mifsud contacted Papadopoulos and said, I have to meet with you because you're an expert on Middle East affairs. And during the meeting, he told Papadopoulos that the Russians had hacked Hillary's emails, had hacked the DNC's emails. Okay?
Okay.
That's what happened. Then about a week later, Papadopoulos got contacted by another CIA agent. This CIA agent was a Cambridge professor. The Cambridge professor paid for Papadopoulos to come to London. Well, the day before the meeting, Papadopoulos was contacted by another CIA agent, a young woman. And in each case, the Cambridge professor and the young woman stuck a microphone in Papadopoulos' face and said, "Is Trump working with the Russians? We know you think he's working with the Russians because he's got this, he's been, we know well, anyway, we know that, what do you think about that?" And what they did was they got Papadopoulos to say that he knew that the Russians had hacked the DNC and the Clinton emails. So I just want to go over this again and make it clear. First, Papadopoulos knows nothing about this.
First, let me summarize what you're telling me.
Yeah,
First,
lower your head.
First, a spy tells Papadopoulos that Russians hacked Hillary.
Lower your head.
Then
Lower your head.
Then
Yeah.
other spies
Right.
ask him, "Does he know that?" And he's like,
Right.
"Yeah."
And he says, yeah.
So you're saying it's entrapment, basically.
They did, that's what happened. Okay? There's no way. There's no New York Times article or Democrat National Committee stand on this. That is what happened. And from that meeting, the FBI justified surveilling Trump. That was what started the investigation. So the investigation didn't start with Papadopoulos working with the Russians. The investigation started when they entrapped Papadopoulos.
Except that the
Lower your
investigation,
head. Lower your head.
the general investigation must have started earlier than that, because when the FBI became concerned that the Russians were meddling with the election.
Okay, but
Now, so that's a kind of
Papadopoulos meetings and the dossier were what was used by the FBI to justify the surveillance. And then after that, the FBI and the CIA put 2 spies in the Trump campaign. They approached the Trump campaign saying they'd like to work for Trump. And one of them was the Cambridge professor I just mentioned. So that's what happened. That's how you became convinced that Trump was working with the Russians, Rick. There's nothing else. There is nothing else. There is nothing else that was in any of the reports.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
Fine, and I'm okay with it.
Okay. So
And I've said that 50 times
lower
before,
your head.
too.
Lower your head.
All right.
So
But also, one more thing. It's time to roll out my stinky turd theory of information again, for people who haven't heard it. The truth of a situation, or all the combined facts, is like a big stinky turd that if you happen to turn around and take a look at the shit you've taken, you see it floating in the toilet bowl. And in the shit there are peanuts, and there's corn, and I don't know, frickin' pepper skins and a whole bunch of stuff. And each side, the Democrats pick out the peanuts and they say, this is the situation. and the Republicans pick out the corn and they say, this is the situation. It's a bunch of cherry picking or shit picking on both sides. Or it's, if you don't like shit as a metaphor.
Turn your head away from me a little bit.
Okay. Then it's the blind men, feeling up the
And
elephant.
lower your head, please.
All right. But in general,
The New York, did you want to summarize this?
I just want to say that my feeling in general is that Trump has had a long career, a 50-year career of shady dealings.
You know this.
Yeah, because you can read his whole.
Was he a spy for Russia?
No.
Okay. So now, the New York Times this week revealed that a Russian woman was hired by the FBI and placed in the Trump campaign. And it was based on a dossier that wasn't verified, that was paid for by Clinton, and Papadopoulos being set up by 3 CIA agents.
Remember, what I just said was that the dossier, according to Wikipedia, the dossier was not the impetus for the investigation.
Okay, but I read the actual. I read part of the warrants. They haven't released those warrants, but I read part of it that said that the dossier is part of the basis for the warrant.
Okay, so I'm fine with.
So the dossier and a meeting where Papadopoulos, lower your head, was set up by 3 CIA agents.
I'm fine with.
Lower your head.
Okay, but I'm fine with. Let's move on from here.
No. I don't actually want to move on because
But we've discussed this so many fucking times.
Yeah, but nothing is getting in.
Nothing will get in. I'm not changing my mind. Nothing's going to get in.
I understand, but Rick, you keep trying to convince me.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm trying to convince.
There are these turds, and there are many different ways of looking at this turd. And I'm saying the New York Times just came out with a report that the FBI and the CIA had hired a woman and this Cambridge professor to enter the Trump campaign based on a dossier that was not verified and a meeting with Papadopoulos where Papadopoulos was set up. And that doesn't mean anything to you.
So at the end of the day, who's going to be wearing handcuffs?
No, wait,
Trump.
and wait, there's more. It also turns out that Flynn, I'm not going to wait for Rick to say, "Oh, I was wrong," because he never will. So I'm just going to move on. It turns out that General Flynn, as we speak, is being reevaluated because it turns out that there's exculpatory evidence that would exonerate him.
Who's reevaluating?
The judge. The judge has decided not to sentence Flynn, the general that you guys were so proud you were able to catch. It turns out that he was set up too.
This is according to which news source?
Right now, as we speak, the judge in the case that was meant to put Flynn in jail, to sentence him, right now, this week, has announced that he is not going to sentence Flynn until he sees until he's researched any possible exculpatory evidence that the FBI might have been hiding when Comey was the director, that they were using to frame Flynn.
Okay.
So Flynn may not even go to jail. It may turn out that they framed Flynn just like they framed Papadopoulos.
Okay.
Papadopoulos' lawyer has now said that it looks like he was framed by 3 CIA agents, a Cambridge professor, a young woman from Italy, and Joseph Massoud. All 3. By the way, and Joseph Massoud has gone into hiding. So there were 3. So the basis for your investigating Trump is a man that was framed, a general that was also framed, a dossier that was not verified and paid for by the Clinton campaign. All of the people, And by the way, this week it turns out that the FBI has launched an investigation of the Clinton Foundation.
Okay, fine. All right, so let's
Did
move
you
on.
know that the FBI had launched?
No, I didn't. But
why do you suppose that is, Rick?
I don't know, but let's.
No, I'm not finished. This is a two-man show. You get to talk.
All right, so why is the FBI launched an investigation?
Because they think the word was used pay for play. They believe that while Clinton was Secretary of State, she was actually accepting donations to the Clinton Foundation in return for favors to foreign countries.
Do they believe that, or do they believe there's a possibility that was the case?
Well, the words pay for play has been used in some of the reports from the financial experts at the FBI, and an investigation has been launched.
Okay, but so
Now,
nobody's...
the reason you don't know about this, Rick, is because your media lies to you.
No, it's because I shit my bed 2 days ago. I shit in my bed. I've got other shit to worry about than all this stuff. I'm not completely informed. I'm taking some medicine that gives me runny poo, and you don't know this term, but everybody else in the world does. Sharded. I sharded the bed. Do you know what sharding is?
No.
You go to fart and you shit. So there you go. I thought I was farting, but no, I was pooping in the bed. So it's not because my media didn't inform me. It's because I spend a nice portion of the day trying not to shit myself. And doing pretty well.
So let me ask you a question. We know that you're married.
Yes. Carol didn't like when I shit the bed. Carol didn't like me sharding the bed. No, because Carol gets up very early in the morning, because if you don't live in LA, the 405 freeway that is essential from going to much of the valley where we live to much of the main part of LA, the west side, is, even though it's 12 lanes across in many areas, it's still an impossible freeway for 14 hours a day. We do this show starting at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night just so we can get down the 405 in a reasonable amount of time.
I don't think people care about.
But the deal is,
that.
Carol gets up at 4:45 a.m. in order to be on the road by 6:15 a.m.
What was
so at 3 in the morning? At 3 in the morning, Carol hears squish, 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 because I'm squirting the shard areas with a cleaner I grabbed out of the bathroom, and I'm wiping and squirting and wiping and squirting. So she was not pleased to be awoken by the smell of poop and the sound of cleaner squirting. But you marry for in sickness and health, which includes, the occasional sharding of the bed, apparently. All right, so let's move on.
Do you have to take this medicine for your?
No, it's a crackpot thing. It's homemade chemo, because I've read dozens and dozens of papers. Because the doctors say, we'll get to there's a waiting list 2 months long to get to the surgical robot at UCLA, and the doctor's like, statistically and blah blah blah, it can sit there, it's no big deal. We leave tumors this size in people all the time, but it's not their tumor, it's my tumor, and there's a non-zero chance that the tumor can metastasize. So I want to kill that fucking tumor. So I read papers, and there's this stuff called ficitin, which is found in strawberries as well as a bunch of other stuff. And in dozens of papers, ficitin is effective against various cancers in a number of different ways, including the cancer that I probably have.
All right.
So I'm taking it, and it gives me brutal diarrhea.
Okay.
And, if at worst, it doesn't do anything except make me shit the bed, and at best it maybe knocks down the size of the tumor and makes it harder for the tumor to metastasize, or if it does metastasize, makes it harder for the metastases to stick someplace else and grow. It does a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And it's just starting to be studied in clinical trials. The first clinical trial began in September of last year at the Mayo Clinic.
Can you still hold your head
Yeah,
that way?
yeah.
And
So,
just keep that
so yeah,
way?
it's homemade.
Lower your head.
It's homemade chemo. I'm glad to shit myself because it makes me think that it might be working. Next week I go in and I'm having another ultrasound, which will tell me whether I managed to shrink the tumor or not.
Cool.
So now let's talk about the Kentucky Derby.
All right.
For the first time in the history of the race, in 145 years, the winner of the Derby was disqualified for blocking other horses.
What does that mean?
The second place jockey said that the first place horse blocked other horses, obstructed them, moved.
Isn't that what it's supposed to do?
No, moved sideways in such a way that it was an unfair blocking, and they looked at the tape and they found out, that other horses were obstructed. Though not necessarily the second place horse, but some of the other horses in the pack of like 17 horses. And if you cause a change in the order of the finish through unfair obstructing, you get moved down to last place. But the deal is, it was one of the sloppiest, wettest Kentucky dirt. It wasn't apparently, and I don't know everything about this, but my opinion is, it was super slow. There were puddles all over the track, mud and puddles all over. And the horses are running at about 50 miles an hour? I don't know. And it wasn't the jockey who was moving the horse back and forth to try to block the other horses. The horse, I think, saw a puddle that made it nervous and kind of skittered to the side. And my opinion is, if it's going to be that fucking muddy, and if the horses are gambling with their lives on the size of puddles, maybe they should wait another day to run the race until the track is more dry.
Well, I guess that's important because it turns out that that's how the English won the Battle of Agincourt. The field of Agincourt was so muddy that the French cavalry bogged down in the mud, and they were cut to pieces by the English foot soldiers. So we know that historically, I'm contributing that mud and horses don't mix very well.
Also, racing in horses, it's freaking dangerous for horses. There's an ongoing kind of mess going on at a local LA racetrack where about 23 horses have died in the past year from running on the track, and
what's that about?
They're trying to figure out what the deal is and how to have fewer horses die.
Yeah, but is it mud? What is it?
No, it's some of it is the drugs they use to keep the horses in running shape, and some of it is you're taking an animal that weighs 3/4 of a ton and making it haul ass, and if it breaks a leg, it takes heroic measures to save the horse. And of course the horse is never going to be the same, and usually they just shoot the horse if the horse breaks its leg.
All right, so what's our next topic, Rick?
I don't know. What's our next topic?
It seems like Obama never gets credit for our economy being the way it is.
Oh, no, let's not frame it that way. Let me frame it that way.
Okay.
Let's go to the unemployment this week. Dropped to 3.6%, the lowest rate in almost 50 years. And obviously Trump deserves some credit. And I will tell you how much credit I think he deserves. There have been 100, this is the graph, let me bring this up here, of job growth from January 2010 to last month.
Hold that right through the city.
Okay. See that deal?
Got it.
It's a straight line. It's a friggin' straight line for roughly the past 9 years. There have been 103 consecutive months of job growth in the U.S. economy. Trump has been president for 26 or 27 of those months. We're also in the middle of the longest bull market in modern history. The stock market has gone 10 years and 2 months, 122 months, without a correction. And again, Trump has been president for 27 of those months. So Trump deserves credit for keeping economic trends going. And you could even make the case that if he hadn't been president, that the trends would have stalled before this point. But these are trends that began early in Obama's presidency and have continued more than 2 years into Trump's presidency.
Well, there is one trend that you always leave out. What trend is that, Rick? Have I trained you to at least admit what the trend is, since we've gone over this a million times?
In what, employment of minorities?
No. I'll just answer the question.
What, growth?
Yeah, the growth rate. See,
yeah.
what happens is this. The growth rate is now at 3.2. For those of you that missed our past 50 shows, Rick always starts off with saying the economy was improving under Obama, and this is just a repeat, it's just Trump is the beneficiary. And then I always say something that Rick forgets, and that is that the Obama growth rate was not getting better. It was getting worse. And you can look at it by quarter under the Obama administration. There were the last 4 quarters is what you can judge the Obama administration by, and it was getting worse. In fact, under the Obama administration, we did not have a single year, we had quarters, but not a single year at growth over 3%. And he said, and his economic advisor said that was a thing of the past. And under Trump, we've had 2 years over 3%.
Nope.
This year has been over 3%. The last
You
year,
haven't had
the
4
first
consecutive
year,
quarters that have averaged more than 3%. No.
All right, let's look at. Now, I will say this: it was 2.8 the first year under Trump, but it keeps going up, and it's been over 3, well over 3. 3.2 is a very good, strong economy.
It's a good,
and it's better than any of the years Obama had. Any of the 8 years Obama had.
I don't know. I know that of the 32 quarters Obama had, 8 of them were over 3%.
I understand that, but Rick, that's why I always say when you lie, I'm sorry, you're not lying. When you bring up this obfuscating point, I always say it's not the quarter that matters. To economists, it's a whole year of growth because quarters can change. But the Obama administration never had a year over 3%. The Trump administration has had 1 year that was almost 3% and 1 year over 3%.
All right, so let's look it up.
No, but we've done this like 6 times, Rick.
No, because let's fucking look it up.
Okay,
We've done a
now
lot of shit.
The important thing about this, also, under the Obama administration, our debt was more than all of the other presidents combined. He got us 20 trillion into debt. 20 trillion. Now 20 trillion, so you can understand this, is more than all the previous presidents combined. Okay? So what he had was an economy that was stagnating because it was not growing in 8 years over 3%, which is 3% is healthy. And he had borrowed so much money that we would never be able to pay it off, not with the growth rates that he had. So,
But what about the debt that we're accumulating now at a greater
Well,
rate than any time,
we're
previous time in
we're
history?
accumulating debt because the
corporate tax cut.
Because the Democrats blackmailed Trump. They said, "Look, you will fund us all of the spending things we want to do, or we will neglect the military." And that was a year ago. And as a result, Trump was forced to agree to it because Obama had also left our military in disrepair.
You also,
So that we
but wait,
were-
but,
so that
but
we were
Trump cut
vulnerable.
now, I won't say this is entirely a terrible thing, but Trump cut the corporate, it's actually probably a good thing. Trump cut
Yes,
the
it
corporate
is.
tax rate
Yeah.
from 35% to 21%.
Okay, and that's part of the reason that we're experiencing this incredible economy.
Well, but
wait,
hold
there's
on,
more.
no, hold on, because this is also one of the reasons, the primary reason, that our debt is increasing hugely because the tax revenues have declined.
The higher the growth rate, the more the debt will go down. If we had
Yeah, but right now we're spending.
If our growth rate went up to 4 or 5%, the debt would be.
But you
would be
can't-
erased.
you
Oh,
can't-
wait. There's more. Wait. I just wanted to finish. Well, now another thing that Rick does because his people are lying to him. They say that it's no big deal that the Trump employment rate is so high. That's no big deal. They say it's just Obama's trend. Well, the thing
No,
that,
I'm not
the
saying
thing,
that.
The
I
thing
didn't.
that, the thing that
If
his-
you listen, if
the
you were
thing
watching
that-
the show
the thing that
7 minutes ago,
the
you
thing-
heard me not say that.
The thing that Rick's handlers don't tell him is that real wages for blue collar employees is higher than it was under Obama by far.
Well, I don't. Hold on, because you like to say that I will admit, if we're, it's not admit, I will state that real wages after stagnating
Under Obama.
not just under Obama, but they've
Well,
been
he had 8
stagnating.
years, Rick. Under Obama.
No,
real
hold on. No,
wages
let's fucking
stagnated,
talk about.
And they're higher under Trump.
No, hold
For the
on,
first
hold
time
on,
in
fucking-
decades,
let
they're
me-
going up dramatically.
No, let me do the actual numbers. Real wages for middle class people have been stagnant for roughly 40 years.
Okay.
But in the past year, under Trump, they've gone up 3%. And that is kind of, it's not a big deal. It's kind of it's a thing. He was asked, is he gonna run on the economy in 2020? And he said, heck yeah. And that's one of the things he can run on. That if real wages really do go up, if this trend continues,
Yes.
that's a big frickin' deal for him to run on. It's a thing that hasn't been happening. So yeah,
Because Trump is a better president than Obama.
I wouldn't say that, but I'd say even a fucking broken president is right twice a day, or is that a
Well,
clock?
Can you get in the post, please? Because I'm just wasting my time here.
Okay.
All right.
But you like to say that I only know the facts that I'm fed, and but I
yeah, but
don't shit.
why is it that that if I didn't mention that people were not only more employed but getting higher wages, and poor people, blue collar people, you would not have said a word about it. I had to bring that up. So my point is this: the people are more employed. The stock market is at record highs.
No, wait,
The growth rate
let's
is
talk about
higher
that. All
than
right, but
Obama.
if you compare the stock market under Trump to the stock market under Obama year by year, Obama's yearly increase in the stock market is greater than Trump's, at least over the past year. However, now let me be reasonable here. Obama had a huge advantage in the increase in the stock market once the biggest recession in 80 years, the biggest economic downturn in 80 years, stopped because the stock market had lost almost 50% of its value. So of course it's going to pop back up at a pretty healthy rate once the recession ends.
Right, and that's why I don't judge it by that. I was perfectly well aware of that.
But
so the increase
but
looks
the
better than it
stock
really
market
was.
has kind of been hanging fire for the past year. It went up pretty healthily the first year under Trump. The second year it's been kind of just steady.
Okay, but it is at record highs.
Yeah.
So the point is, now that it wasn't easy, but we've gotten to the point you could be in the polls again. Or let me at least do your head, okay? If you don't, move your head. Okay, so why can't you vote for Trump? Because
he's so bad in so many other ways.
What are those ways?
He does well. The number one thing is. And he's not the only president who's guilty of this, but he governs to his he governs to his base. He governs to the 40% of America who supports him. And the other 60% can just fuck off.
He has a 51% approval rating.
He doesn't have a 51% approval rating. That's according to the Rasmussen polls. Now, here's the deal. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. There are a bunch of polls, and I like 538.com, which compiles all the polls and rates all of them for accuracy. And Rasmussen, the one that consistently ranks Trump's approval the highest among all the polls, gets a C+ from them. It also gets a 7 percentage point adjustment downward because it's got built-in bias. Because among other things, they call too many people on landlines. And landlines are used by old fuckers who watch Fox News. This is the source of how you collect people, and calling people up to get their opinions has been the source of huge error ever since polls concluded that Dewey was going to defeat Truman. Because they called people up, and it turns out that back then when you called people up, only richer people tended to have phones. But anybody could vote, rich and poor, and they mismeasured people because they were calling people who were richer than the average person. So go ahead.
So my question to you is, do you believe that Trump will lose the election?
I believe I don't know, but
so this is
hold on. No. I've listened. I've watched. I read what pollsters have to say.
Yeah.
And pollsters say that if the strength of the economy continues for the next year, he's got something like a 50-50 shot, because presidents under a good economy tend to get reelected.
Well, my question to you is, what is it about Trump that's bothering you so much? That, in other words, when Trump was running against Cruz, I wanted Cruz because I thought Trump was a vulgarian.
Well, who do you think has more integrity, Cruz or Trump?
I think that Trump has turned out to be the best president of my lifetime.
But who has more integrity?
I wouldn't even be able to judge that. I think Trump has turned out to be a fantastic president. And everything about him that I was worried about, and I wasn't worried about much because I did vote for him enthusiastically, but everything I thought he would screw up on, he did well. I mean, he's turned out to be absolutely fantastic. So I don't know what it is that's bothering you. And I mean, what I'm saying is this: you're a smart man, right? So you've been given new information. You hated this guy, but he came in and he really did gangbusters on the economy. And for some reason, that doesn't matter to you. You still won't vote for him. And I'm wondering
the
why.
economy isn't the entire measure
Okay,
of a
so
president
where
or the
has
presidency.
he failed?
He's failed at bringing the country together.
Oh, come on. The country isn't being brought together by anybody.
No, it isn't.
That's
No.
not the president's. You think Obama brought the country together?
Yeah, to some extent, and certainly more than Trump
The country
has.
was very divided, and it doesn't matter.
Well, all right. So
You don't vote for somebody because of such vague, amorphous things.
Actually, you do. Part of the presidency, because when you look at the actual powers of the president, they are much smaller than the overall effect of the president on the nation, the actual stated powers. And a lot of things go into a presidency.
Yeah, please stop speaking in such vague generalities.
Yeah, but you have to speak in vague generalities because some of these vague generalities are important aspects of the presidency and the national personality and national
What
mood.
else do you hate about
That
Trump?
was also a vague generality.
Yeah.
What you just
What
said
else-
just then.
What else do you hate about Trump? You said it divides the country. Okay, what else?
He's a fucking prick.
Okay.
He's a shady businessman.
But he's
He-
not doing shady business right now, Rick.
He kind of still
He
is,
doesn't even
yeah.
have an opportunity. He's in office now.
Yeah, but he still frickin' runs he still profits from his various businesses,
Well, what's he
including
supposed to do, Rick?
You're supposed to, well...
Do you know that he refuses his salary? Did you know
Yeah,
that?
I do know that.
So, I mean, that's almost $1 million in 4 years right there.
No, it's 1.6 million.
Well, there you go. So, and if he wins again, that'll be 3.2 million.
But
So he gave up that.
he says he's a billionaire, though, so that should only be 1/10 of 1% of his.
Yeah, but my point is, are we really worried about that, Rick?
Yeah, we are, because it's a
you elaborate?
nasty hate crimes.
So you're convinced.
Hate crimes against Jews are up 37%.
And wait a minute, wait. You're blaming that on Trump?
I'm saying that it's part of the national mood, and that he has a
So
great deal
you're
to
saying
do.
Trump is anti-Semitic.
I'm saying that Trump's hateful rhetoric that there's statistical evidence that his hateful rhetoric has increased the number of hate crimes.
Rick, are you saying that Trump is anti-Semitic?
I'm saying that his hateful rhetoric in general encourages hate crime.
Do you think that his hateful rhetoric encourages anti-Semitic hate crime?
Yes.
Okay, so you're telling me that a guy whose grandson is Jewish hates Jews, and his son-in-law and his daughter are Jewish. His daughter and his
Yes.
son-in-law are Jewish, but he's so anti-Semitic that he's trying to get Jews
You keep
killed.
trying to, he's not particularly anti-Semitic.
Then why don't you
he's
just
been
close
quoted. He's been quoted as saying that he doesn't like black accountants and bookkeepers. He likes the ones with the yarmulkes.
Well, you know
Now
what?
that's not really
Rick,
anti-Semitic.
Rick.
That's racist a little bit, but it's not anti-Semitic.
Rick, I'm
But-
not going to believe these weird anonymous quotes. Okay, listen to me, Rick. I have to judge things by reality, not weird things. Okay, that are unsupportable. His daughter, his son-in-law, and his grandchild are Jews. And you're telling me that he's trying to get the country to be anti-Semitic
No,
and for there to be
I'm not
crimes against
saying. No, you
people
keep trying to get
for
me
being
to.
Jewish?
All right, here's the deal. You're trying to get me to say that Trump is anti-Semitic.
No,
so
no.
you can
Well, what I'm
poo-poo
trying
me.
to get you to realize is that you are very unfair. You're a race baiter. You're lying about him. It's not fair. He's done nothing but help Israel. He recognized the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. He's given them the most advanced weapons we have. He's cut off all aid to the Palestinians. He supported them when they
Fine.
fought.
He
Don't
loves.
interrupt me.
He
Don't
fucking.
interrupt me.
He
He's su-
fucking loves the Jews.
Yeah,
But
yes.
under Trump, hate crimes against Jews
Well,
are
then maybe it wasn't. Then maybe it's
37%.
not his fault, Rick.
He began his campaign.
Actually,
the very
you know
first
what?
statement
You know
of his
what? You know what?
campaign
Maybe-
called Mexicans rapists
I
and
don't
murderers.
care. I don't care. You are slandering him by saying that he's responsible for hate crimes against Jews.
He's responsible for part of the national mood.
No,
and
no. You can't do that, Rick.
I
It's
can.
not-
I can do whatever I want.
Rick. How many of these hate crimes, by the way, are being committed by Muslims that Obama brought into the country?
I don't know, less than 5%.
You don't have any idea, do you?
Yeah, I do. The great
Let's look it up.
majority of.
Let's look it up.
Okay,
Who's
all right, we're breaking.
committing the
We're
hate
breaking. We're
crimes
breaking.
against
We're
Jews?
breaking. We're breaking.